the
very
Tino
good
doing?
day.
What is that, please?
A very
How's the
good day.
Tino, how is the
sorry.
Tino doing?
Baruch Hashem.
He's
I
growing.
did. Thank you. Thank you. Simchas for everybody. We're on Lamed Gimel Lamed Beis on the bottom. Let's see, about Tanu Rabbanan, about 10 lines up or so. Tanu Rabbanan. Minayin Sheba Shofar. So as we mentioned before, that you have to have a shofar. We said a shofar means a naturally hollow horn, and not a keren, not a something that you have to artificially carve out. And truth is that we don't even know that you have to use a horn. Maybe it's a trumpet. Maybe you're supposed to shout. The word Trua means to shout. So how do we know they're supposed to have a shofar? It doesn't say shofar. It says Yom Trua, Zichron Trua. Trua, that means loud noise, shouting. So maybe it's supposed to all shout. Talmud Lama v'avarta shofar Trua. So being a pasuk where it does say shofar, this pasuk is not by Rosh Hashanah. By Rosh Hashanah, it just says two psukim, Yom Trua Yalachem and Zichron Trua. Doesn't say the word shofar. But by Yovel, it does say the word shofar. And the Gemara is going to soon learn out to Rosh Hashanah also. Over there by Yovel, in Kippur of Yovel, it does say you should blow with a shofar. In the other Yovel, Rosh Hashanah Minayim, it doesn't say it by Rosh Hashanah, it says by Yovel, there's pasuk of shofar. Over there by Yom Kippur of Yovel, it says it's in the 7th month. And we know all over that Yom Kippur is the 7th month. It doesn't have to specify. If it says that Yovel, you blow a shofar on Yom Kippur, it doesn't have to say it's the 7th month. We know that. It didn't have to say that. Over there by Yovel, Yom Kippur of Yovel, the drasha is in order to equate all the blowings of the 7th month. So that's talking about Yovel, Yom Kippur, and it says it's with a shofar. And since it says B'chodesh Hashvi, from there you learn out that Rosh Hashanah is going to be the same thing because it's also in the 7th month. So that was one drasha to tell us you have to have a shofar. Next question. Even if it says Trua, so that's a Trua. How do you know about a Tkiya? It doesn't say anything about a Tkiya. How do you know that it's supposed to be a straight sound? The Pshuta is the way the Gemara calls it Tkiya, a straight sound. How do you know it's supposed to be a Tkiya before the Trua? Talmud Lomar, Ba'avarta, Shofar Trua. So again, it's going to be only by Yovel. These psukim, it's only going to say by Yovel. By Rosh Hashanah, it doesn't say Tkiya, it just says Trua, Yom Trua Yalachem, and Zichron Trua. It doesn't say the word Tkiya. But the Gemara finds that by Yovel it does. Over there it doesn't say the word Tkiya, but it says Ba'avarta. You should blow, and the Gemara knows Pasha that the word means that this, at least that this brisa holds that that's a straight blow. So since it says Va'avarta Shofar Trua, that's the pasuk it says by Yovel, and the end of the pasuk says Trua, but it says before that Va'avarta is a Tkiya before. How do you know there's a Tkiya after the Trua? How do you know that there's supposed to be a Tkiya after the Trua? Again, by Yovel, Taviru Shofar. Over there it says Va'avarta Shofar Trua B'chol Ha'asachem B'chodesh Hashvi Taviru Shofar. So it says Trua in the middle, and it says Havara before, it says Havara after, Taviru Shofar. So we know that there's a Tkiya before, Tkiya after. But again, this is always by Yovel, in the other by Yovel, that it says Tkiya before, Tkiya after. Rosh Hashanah Menayim, and it's going to be the same answer as we said before. Since it says B'chodesh Hashvi, so all the blowings of the 7th month are all equated to each other. Talmud Lomar B'chodesh Hashvi, same drasha as before. Next page, that it didn't have to say B'chodesh Hashvi because we know that Yom Kippur is the 7th month. Since it says it is coming to equate all of the blowings of the 7th month, once we know that by Yovel there's supposed to be a Tkiya before, Tkiya after, so too on Rosh Hashanah. Shen Talmud Lama B'chodesh Hashvi, it didn't have to say that. We know Yom Kippur is on the 7th month. Ma Talmud Lama B'chodesh Hashvi, to tell you, Sheyu Kol Trua Shechodesh Hashvi Zekazeh, they're all equal, just like by Yovel. The Trua has a Tkiya before, Tkiya after, Avara, Taviru. So too, Rosh Hashanah also has a Tkiya before, Tkiya after. So far, we learned 2 halachas, or maybe 3 you can call them, but we'll call it 2. That is a shofar, and also there's a Tkiya before and Tkiya after. All those things it says by Yovel, since it says B'chodesh Hashvi, we learn now that applies to Rosh Hashanah also. Next question, 3rd line. When we're 9, the shalosh. How do you know that you do that three times? So far, we just learned Tkiya, Trua, Tkiya. And even that took time to figure out. But now the Gemara is saying that the Brisa says we have to do that 3 times. You have to do Tkiya, Trua, Tkiya, Tkiya, Trua, Tkiya, Tkiya, Trua, Tkiya. Where does it say that? Talmud Lomar, there are 3 times that it says the word Trua. Va'avarta Shofar Trua, Shabboson Zichron Trua, and Yom Trua Yalachem. So to point out that this first pasuk over here, Va'avarta Shofar Trua, is by Yovel. That's the pasuk we said by Yovel. The next pasukim is by Rosh Hashanah. Shabboson Zichron Trua and Yom Shua Yelochem. So it says 3 times the word Trua, 1 by Yovel, 2 by Rosh Hashanah. Altogether is 3. So we have 3 Truas. And of course, before we looked already before, that each Trua has a Tkiyah before, Tkiyah after. That's how you get the sum total of 3 times 3. But the Gemara says, very nice, you have 1 by Yovel and 2 by Rosh Hashanah. How are you saying you have to have 3? And now the Gemara is going to say, how do you know that everything applies to each other? By Yovel, apply that to Rosh Hashanah and add on the 1 to the 2. And by Rosh Hashanah that it says 2, add that on to the Yovel. And both Yovel and Rosh Hashanah, each one has to have 3 truas. How do you know that? It's Gzer Shava. By both of them, by Yovel and by Rosh Hashanah, says the word Shvi. So you learn Gzer Shava, that everything that applies here applies to the other one also. Okay, it's that Shalosh Shein Teisha. You learn out that there are 3 that come out to be 9, means 3 times 3. That each one has 3, just like Yovel has 3 truas, and Rosh Hashanah has 3 truas, and also before we learned already before Tkiyah after. So you have 9. Both Rosh Hashanah and Yovel, all of them have 9. What does 9 mean? 3 times Tkiyah, Trua, Tkiyah. The Brisa is almost finished. One more line. This we had already before. Yesterday's Gemara. This is the Brisa Gemara was quoting yesterday. Shir Tkiyah Ketrua, which was the Gemara's kasha before, that in the Mishnah says Shir Tkiyah Keshalosh Truas, and here it says it's like 1. The Gemara fixed up the Mishnah to mean the same thing. And the length of a Tkiyah is the length of a Trua. And this was why the Gemara had to fix up the Mishnah. The Mishnah said that the Shir Tkiyah is like 3 Truas. So the Gemara said Pshat to equate it with the Brisa. A Tkiyah is as long as a Trua. Not that it's the same sound, but the length of the Tkiyah is as long as a Trua. And the Brisa also said, this was the second point that we quoted yesterday, Shir Trua Kishlosh Shavarim. This the Gemara said we can't reconcile with the Mishnah. A Shvarim is not the same as a Yevava. A Yevava is more like a Yalala, that is called a wailing sound, which is going to be what we call a Trua. And the Shvarim means a sighing kind of a sound, a mournful kind of a sound, which is going to be what we call a Shvarim. So yesterday the Gemara said that that's Taka Machlokes, that we couldn't reconcile. And we'll get more about that today. That's the end of the Brisa. What do we learn out? That there's a shofar, there's a Tkiyah before, Tkiyah after, and there are also 3 truas. And most of the drushes learned out from Yovel, or a combination of Yovel and Rosh Hashanah together. The Gemara Zakasha at the beginning of the Brisa, when it wanted to make the comparison between Yovel and Rosh Hashanah, it used the drush that says B'chodesh Hashvi. That by Yom Kippur it says B'chodesh Hashvi, and we know Yom Kippur is in the 7th month. It's coming to tell you to equate all of the lowings of the 7th month. But the last thing of the Brisa, when it talked about Shel Zeh Bozeh, to learn out that here it says 1 time, here it says 2 times Trua, and to learn that all apply to each other, they use the Gzer Shava. So in the beginning, we use the Hekesh, a comparison just to say that it says B'chodesh Hashvi, they're all the same. And then we use the Gzer Shava. Seems to change the drasha. That's the Mars Kasha now. In the beginning, the Brisa talked about a Hekesh, and then it ended off with Gzer Shava. Rashi learns that either one would be good enough for both. The Hekesh, Rashi learns, I think maybe there's different shot than Rashi, but we'll say Rashi, that the Hekesh would have been good enough throughout the Brisa. You don't need the Gzer Shava. You have the Gzer Shava, you don't need the Brisa. The Gemara answers, you're right. You love Gzer Shava, have my sin away by Kesha. Hashta, he says Gzer Shava, Kesha Lo Tzarech. The Brisa just means to say that a Hekesh would have been good enough, and I could have done it on my own. I don't need the Gzer Shava. But once there is a Gzer Shava, so I don't need the Hekesh. So the Brisa started off with a Hekesh and ended off with a Gzer Shava. Rashi learns that either one would have been good enough. So there might be a kasha with Rashi that if either one's good enough, you don't need Gzer Shava. Why is the pasuk go out of its way to say a Gzer Shava? That's not necessary. There might be a pshat a little different than Rashi, that the last drasha does need a Gzer Shava. You wouldn't be able to learn out from the Hekesh alone, and you do have to have the Gzer Shava. The old Gemara's kasha was, how come you have to have the Hekesh if you have a Gzer Shava? And that the Gemara answers, you're right. And the Maskana, we do need the Gzer Shava. You don't need a Hekesh. But the Gemara just meant to say, the Brisa meant to say, for the first drasha's Hekesh would have been enough. But after we have the third drasha, we must have a Gzer Shava, and then Enachnam, you don't need the Hekesh anymore.
They're equal.
And the Hekesh means you do it on your own. You don't. Gzer Shava has to have two words, and you have to have a Kabbalah, Masorah, that you're allowed to make this connection. And Hekesh means that the pasuk compares it. So one word, it says B'chodesh Hashvi, the pasuk compares it all, then you can do it on your own already. But the last drasha, there's a possibility that you won't be able to learn with a Hekesh, to learn that the 2 apply to the 1 applies to the 2. That's more of a Gzer Shava kind of a drasha. But Maisa, the halachas that came out, we're all right, that you have a shofar, and it has to be dafka shofar, and also has to be a tkiyah before, tkiyah after, also has to be 3 times. So it's 3 truas, and each one has a tkiyah before, tkiyah after. And we learned it out mostly from Yovel, a combination of Yovel and Rosh Hashanah together. Now the Gemara brings another brisa, which is going to say the same halachas are going to come out, but different drasha. But the same halachas are going to come out. The next Tana, the following Bryce, it learns out from the Midbar. The Midbar means that it says in Parshas Baloscha to make two trumpets, Chatzotros, Kesef, Asay Lachashtei Chatzotros, Kesef, and that's going to be used for signaling the Eidah to come, when the Nesiim should come, when they should travel. So over there it talks about the trumpets. It's not a shofar over there. And over there we're going to learn out also there's going to be a tkiya, true tkiya, and we're going to learn it out to Rosh Hashanah, a different drasha. The maskana is going to be the same. The halachas are going to be the same, but the drasha that we learn out from is going to be a different drasha. The Tanya, we learned it about Uskatem Chua. This pasuk says by the Midbar, and about the Chatzos, Parshas Balos, nothing to do with Rosh Hashanah, that you should blow a Chua. And what is it? The Pashup Shad, the Gemara is going to say a drasha over. The Pashup Shad means blow a Chua. Uskatem Chua. Even though one word is tkiya, one word is trua, but the Uskatem Chua means blow a Chua. But Rashi says no. Tkiya b'fnei atzma, trua b'fnei atzma. There's two different sounds. The tkiya is a tkiya sound, and the trua is a trua sound. And then the Rashi questions itself. Maybe you read it's the simple pshat. Blow a trua. Uskatem Chua. Blow a trua. How can I learn from this pasuk that it means that tkiya is one thing and a trua is another thing? So he continues in the drash. Over there it says that sometimes you do a shua, sometimes you do a tkiya, different signals for different purposes. And it says when you want to gather the people, then do a tkiya, don't do a shua. So you see that the tkiya means one thing, shua means something else. So when the pasuk says before uskatem shua, the Gemara is darshaning on a drash level that it means two different sounds. Have the omer tkiya b'fnei atzma, shua b'fnei atzma. There are two different sounds. So we have a tkiya and a shua. Now, how do you know that, or now that we know that it's two different sounds, how do you arrange these sounds? How do you know that a tkiya goes before the trua? This was the pasuk we just mentioned. First, we have to prove that they're two different sounds. Once we know two different sounds, so we have here that it's tkiya, then a trua. And this says by the chatzotros over there. How do you know that it's also supposed to be a tkiya after the trua? Over there also, trua yisku. That's also the pasuk over there that talks about the machanos, and it says trua yisku, and therefore you see a tkiya after the trua. So you have a tkiya, and then a trua, and then a tkiya. So this, we didn't talk about Yovel, we didn't talk about Rosh Hashanah, we're just talking about the midbar, the machanos over there, how to signal, and it says tkiya, trua, tkiya. Rabbi Shmuel ben Moshe ben Yochanan ben Broka, he's also going on the same drush as we just mentioned, but he says that you don't have to, for the last tkiya, you don't need this pasuk of trua yisku. He's going to have a different drush in the same parsha over there, a different drush to say that there's a tkiya after the trua. Ain't no tzarech. You don't need the drush that you just said, trua yisku. Over there talks about when the first machne goes. Amli Yisrael's four machnos. You have Yehuda machne, Degel machne Yehuda, Degel machne Ruvain, Ephraim, done. So it says you blow a trua, and the first machne starts going. Then it's katim trua shenis. You do a second trua, and then the second machne Ruvain starts going. And it doesn't have to say the word shenis. The word shenis is extra over there. It's not necessary, because if it would say blow a tkiya, blow a trua, and Yehuda should go. Below a trua, and Reuben should go. So you understand that. It means the second time. It didn't have to speak out the second trua. The fact that it says, it didn't have to say that word. This is coming to to learn out from here to other places. So it's a drash again, that it means it's katim trua shenis means that you should do the tkiya after the trua. The shenis is going back on the tkiya, that the tkiya should be shenis after the trua. So you learn out that is a trua after. So far, this Bryce had learned out about the tkiyas of the trua that was in the midbar when they were making signals. So it says it's a tkiya before and the tkiya after. And now the question is, learn out from there to Rosh Hashanah, in the Elaba midbar, like it's talking about over there in Parshas Baloscha, Rosh Hashanah Benayin. Trua looks Shava. He's going to have Gzer Shava that says over there the word trua, but Rosh Hashanah says the word trua, just like over there is a tkiya before, tkiya after. So too, by Rosh Hashanah is the tkiya before and the tkiya after. So the first Bryce learned it from Yovel, like we said, Valvarta, Taviru, and this Bryce is learning it from the Parashas Baloscha, where it talks about the Chatzotros. Now, how do you know? So now we're back on to figure out how do you know that you have to have three. You have to, this part of Bryce goes back how you have to have three. We only know tkiya, trua, tkiya. How do you know you have to have three times? The Shalosh Truas Nemu Rosh Hashanah, it says three times the word Trua, and again it goes back now to Yovel again. Shabboson Zichron Trua, Yom Trua, those two psukim it says by Rosh Hashanah, and Abat the Shofar Trua, that's a pasuk by Yovel. So this Bryce also, even though it started talking about the drasha of Tkiya before, Tkiya after, that it was able to learn out from Parshas Baloscha by the Chatzotros. But the fact that you have to have three Truas, that we go back to the first drasha, that it says two times Trua by Rosh Hashanah, it says one times by Yovel, and altogether is three. It's three. As we just finished learning over here. So this part of the Bryces do agree that in order to get the number 3, that you have to have 3 truas, that you have to have a combination of Yovel and Rosh Hashanah. But the point of Tkir before, Tkir after, the first Bryce learned it out from Yovel also, Taviru, Avarta, Taviru, and the second Bryce learned it out from the Midbar that it says over there, Uskatem Trua, or Trua Yisku, or that it says Uskatem Trua Sheinis. That's for the Tkir before, Tkir after. Now the Bryce continues and like throws a surprise that even though we said the whole time that it's 3 times 3, now it says Shtayim B'divrei Torah and Achas B'divrei Sofrim. Only 2 sets are the Raisa. The third set is Rabbanan. Means even though we say Tkiya, Trua, Tkiya, Tkiya, Trua, Tkiya, Tkiya, Trua, Tkiya, only 2 of those Tkiya, Trua, Tkiya is the Raisa. The third set means with the Raisa only needs 6 blowings. Tkiya, Trua, Tkiya, Tkiya, Trua, Tkiya. The third set is only Rabbanan. Why is that? Shabbos on Zichron Trua and Va'avarta Shofar Truas B'divrei Torah. The one pasuk by Rosh Hashanah and one pasuk by Yovel, that's the Deraisa. But Yom Trua Yeh Lachem Utamud Oba. The third pasuk, Yom Trua Yeh Lachem, that's going to be for a drasha. We're going to see soon what the drasha is, and that drasha doesn't allow you to learn out for a third trua. And there's only 2 truas with the Deraisa, of course, Tkir before, Tkir after. And with the Deraisa comes out that you only have to have 6 sounds. And now, just have to get on the right size. Okay, that's a little bit bigger. First wide line. Yes.
The device you don't need 30 colors, you only need.
So we didn't talk about 30 at all. Most stuff we just talked about 9. What you know 30 is like advanced. Right. We don't know 30, we just know 9. Tkiya, Trua, Tkiya, Tkiya, Trua, Tkiya, Tkiya, Trua, Tkiya. Not only 9, even 6. And now the Gemara is going to go even further. First wide line. Shmuel ben Achmeni Yam Rabbi Yonasan. I don't have my point there. Here it is. Achas B'divrei Torah. Only 1. Tkiya, Trua, Tkiya. Only one's the Raisa, and the other 6, Tkiya, Trua, Tkiya, Tkiya, Trua, Tkiya, that's only Rabbanan. Which time did they so from? Why is that? Because only one pasuk is going to be the Raisa. Varta Shofar Trua, that's the Torah. That's the pasuk by Yovel. That's the one's the Raisa. But the other 2 that it says Rosh Hashanah is only Rabbanan. That's really fascinating. That the pasuk of Rosh Hashanah where it says Trua, and we're going to learn out there there's going to be the Raisa by Rosh Hashanah with the whole Gzer Shav and everything. But the words that it says by Rosh Hashanah, Yom Shua, you don't learn out, that's not the Trua. They learn it from Yovel only. Shabboson Zichron Trua, Yom Shua Yolachem, the Talmud Huba. That's going to be for a drash. Now the Gemara is going to say a drash on the word Yom Shua Yolachem. On the Zichron Trua doesn't mention it. Rashi says you need that for Gzer Shabbat to connect it to Yovel. But the Gemara is only going to say a drasha for Yom Shua Yolachem. And it comes out that it could be that with the rice, all you need is Tkiya, Trua, Tkiya. And just like a real big surprise now that the Rosh says it could be a person like this. It could be that with the rice, it's good enough to have Tkiya, Trua, Tkiya. So the whole Rosh Hashanah, all you have to do is Tkiya, Trua, Tkiya, and we do much more. We're going to continue to see how you get, like you say, 30. Everyone agrees that you have to have at least 9 midrabanan. Means the question is with the rice, they're going to have Tkiya, Trua, Tkiya, or with the rice, you're going to have Tkiya, Trua, Tkiya, Tkiya, Trua, Tkiya. The beginning of the rice, the ratio sounds like all 9 of them are the rice. And we're going to figure out later on how can we get 30. But this is amazing, and the Rosh says it's going to be a person like this even.
But since we don't know which truas, we do Tkiya
Right,
from Trua.
right. That's going to be the bottom of the Gemara. That's the bottom of the page. But here we're talking about the Raisa is 9. That's what. And then some say only 6. Some say only 3.
So according to the Rosh, they still do Tkiya from Trua, Tkiya, and they finished.
Right. But that's also only the Raisa. But with Rabbanan, everyone agrees. With Rabbanan, you have to have the 9, and then the 9 is going to become 30 soon. But with the Raisa, all Hashem said was to blow Tkiya, Trua, Tkiya, according to this Shita. And the Rosh says could be a person like that. So the Gemara says in the second wide line, what Rosh is there for the word Yom Trua Yelachem that you're saying that you can't use it for another Trua because that's for a drash. What's the drash? To tell you Yom Trua Yelachem that this Trua you're doing is supposed to be done in the daytime, not at night. The mitzvah of shofar is only in the day, not in the night. If you do it the eve of Rosh Hashanah, you're not, even though it's Rosh Hashanah already, you're not. Yotze has to be dafka in the daytime. And now somebody did say that you have to have all 3 of them. Means the first Shita held that they are the Raisa. All 9 means that there's 3 sets is the Raisa. That means he doesn't use it for this drasha. How does he know this halacha that the shofar has to be dafka in the day? The Idach, who learned that all 9 kolos is the Raisa. How does he learn out that it has to be dafka in the daytime? Nafkalei, maybe Yom Kippurim. By Yom Kippur over there it says you should blow the shofar. The same thing. You're making the Gzer Shavah to Yovel, and over there by Yom Kippur it says Yom Kippurim taviu shofar b'chol artzachem. It has to be dafka in the day of Yom Kippur. So too by Rosh Hashanah. Now the Gemara is surprised. If Yom Kippurim Yalef Nigmar Nami Minei L'Pshuta L'Fnei L'Pshuta L'Achra, The Gemara could have asked the kasha l'chara earlier, but the Gemara asked it over here. If you also have to agree that you're learning out from Yom Kippur, so how come you went to the midbar to Chatzos first to learn out Pshuta Lachreha, that Tkiyah before, Tkiyah after? We had it in Russia before already, that you're learning out from Yovel that says Va'avarta and Taviru. That was the beginning of the Gemara. The Gemara could have asked this kasha earlier also. The Gemara answers, Va'avarta, Taviru, lo mashmalu. He doesn't see in those words that it means Tkiyah. The Gemara started off, and I'm a base before, that the word Va'avarta and Taviru, both of them mean a straight sound. And that's how he's able to learn now Tkiyah. But he doesn't see that. He doesn't see that the word Avarta means a straight sound. So that's why he needs other psukim to learn out from the midbar that he says, what does it say about the midbar? It was Katem Trua, or then it says Trua Yisku, or it says it's Katem Trua Shainis, all those psukim about the Chatzos, that's why he has to learn out from there, because he doesn't see anything in the word Havarta Tavir that it means a Tkiyah. And so the Gemara asks, so what does it mean then? If you're not going to say that it's coming to tell you Tkiyah, so what does it tell you? Elamai Dashibu, what does he learn in the pasuk over there by Yovel, that it says Havarta and Taviru? What does he learn about that? We had that before a couple of pages ago, that you have to blow the shofar the way that it grows, the one shot said, or that you have to have the narrow side is the way that you usually blow, or Rashi is the way that it grows out of the animal's head, that you have to do it from the narrow side to the wide side. And even if you would heat it, boil it up, whatever, you would do something to the shofar to be able to mold it, and you would make the wide mouth to become the mouthpiece, and the mouthpiece to become the wide, and it's not kosher. It has to be the way that it grows, or the way that the normal way. So that's the word from the word taviru, the avarta. And what do you word from the word? What are you going from the word taviru? Taviru, the kam rachmana navri biyad. So here's two pshatim over here, Rashi and Taisus. Taisus is right here. A little Taisus on the page, right here on the screen. That he says that you might think navri biyad means that you have to hold it in your. That coming to tell you have to hold it in your hand. Taisus has a chiddush. I don't know if it's possible like this, that you have to hold the shofar. You might think that the shofar could be laying on the table and you can blow it with your mouth without holding on to it. So he says, no, you have to hold on to it. This is Taisus' pshat. But anyway, he himself says, Pirush HaKodesh Sikir, he likes Rashi's pshat better. Rashi's pshat is that really there's no such thing of holding it in the hand. But if you say the word, the pasuk says, La'avarta shofar trua. The word la'avir, even in modern Hebrew, means to pass. So you might think that the mitzvah is not to blow the shofar. You might think the mitzvah is to hold the shofar and go around. Take a shofar in your hand and walk around. You wouldn't even know that it means to blow. Of course, it's a mistake. But the reason that the way the Torah tells us that it means to blow is by saying it two times. If it only would have said one time the word La'avarta shofar trua, you would have said it doesn't mean to blow b'chlal. It means to carry the shofar all around. You go around the chal atzechem with the shofar. But now that it says the second time, we know that it means to blow. So according to this, there's no such thing of Taisvus that you have to hold it up. If you know how to do it, you can blow the shofar without holding it. That's what comes out, yeah. Maybe somebody else is holding it. It's good enough. Taisvus says that maybe somebody has to hold it. But it comes out in Allah, maybe you don't pass it. Taisvus himself says he doesn't hold this pshat as the main pshat. So maybe there's no such pshat. It's coming just lafuke. Don't think that the pasuk says, hold the shofar and don't blow it. No, you got to blow it. The idach.
Excuse me, Rebbe.
Yes, please.
I know we had this before, V'havarta derech havarto, but doesn't it grow from the head, where you take it off the head of the animal? Isn't that the wide part? And it grows out, and so we're really blowing backwards, aren't we?
The part that's connected to the head is the wide part. When it starts growing out, it's the narrow part that starts growing out, and then as it comes out more and more, that's the part that's connected to the head. Are we agreeing?
So why is it derech? I see. You mean the narrow part is
the way
what
that it goes out of the head. The narrow part is the part that comes out first.
I see. And then it keeps getting longer and longer.
Right, and then the wide part is always connected to the head. And others say over there, a different shot that it means the way that the normal way of blowing. That's how others learn over there.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Now the Gemara says the idach, the other one who says that, how are we holding here? The one who says that you do use the pasuk of Taviru to tell you a Tkiyah. How do you know these two halachas we just finished saying now? We said one halach is that it has to be blown the right way, from the narrow part towards the wide part, and also that don't think that it just means to carry you through the street. The first Russia to say that it means the way that it normally grows, you have to blow it that way, is because the pasuk changed the word. Not because there's an extra word, because it could have said, like it says always, Tkiyah. Why does it say Taviru? It's a changing of the word. The fact that it changed the word, it used not a regular terminology, that's also enough to make a drush also. It doesn't have to be an extra word. We're learning from here Tkiyah. But the fact that it didn't say Yisku, it says Taviru, you learn out also another lacha that it should be the normal growth. And Taviru, Biyad lo mazazarmid. And he says this choice, he's saying that it means maybe to hold it in the hand. It's not even a question. It surely doesn't mean to hold it in your hand. It means to blow. We see the word other places where it means surely to blow. Over there it says the word Vayaviru also. Moshe over there they were declaring. They made a message. They announced something. And over there it says Vayaviru Kol B'Machane. It doesn't mean blowing over there, but it means that they sent a message. It doesn't mean to hold something in your hand. It means to announce. So too, when it says over here, it surely doesn't mean to hold it in your hand. It surely means to sound the shofar. Just like over there, it means, but with sound, the sound is going to pass through the machna, the announcement. So too, when it says over here, it surely means by a sound. You don't need to have a mina that it means not to carry it. Everyone comes out the same. I don't think there's any nafkamina in all the nafkamina al-mais. I don't think anybody's arguing. Everybody agrees to everything. The question is only how you darshan it. Everybody else have to sum it up. Everybody else have to have a shofar. Everybody, one more line. For that one, I have to continue one more line. How do you know a shofar? According to this drash that he didn't learn out from Yovel, how does he know a shofar? Well, if you're learning out from the midbar, but there's so much trumpets over there in Parashat Baldos. How do you know you have to have a shofar in Rosh Hashanah? The first drash said you learn it out from Yom Kippur. Have you a shofar? But according to this Mandel, he doesn't want to learn from Yom Kippur. How does he know that is a shofar in Rosh Hashanah? So as a pasuk in Tehillim, Tamid Loma, Tikka B'Chol the shofar because of Yom Chagenu, Ezehu Chag Shechodesh Miskaseba, V'Omer Zeh Rosh Hashanah, V'Kam Rachmana shofar. That the pasuk in the Torah, you wouldn't know that it's a shofar. But in Tehillim, I think this is Pei Aleph. I think that's the one we say on Thursday. Aninu Mizmor Lasaf. Aninu. So that's the pasuk where you learn out that it means Rosh Hashanah. How do you know it's Rosh Hashanah over there? Because it says the drash says when it's covered up, when the chag is covered, the moon is covered up. Which chag is the moon covered up? Only Rosh Hashanah. Everything else is the 15th. Pesach and Sukkot and Shavuos is in the middle, in the beginning of the month. It's not it's a couple of days in, 50 days after Pesach. It's not going to be on the beginning when the moon is covered up. So it's Rosh Hashanah. But it says Tikka B'Chodesh shofar. So it means a shofar. So we have, again, everybody agrees all the drushes. You have to have a shofar. You have to have a tekiah before and after. You have to have 3 times 3. But there is a machlokes. Some hold. Everyone knows that 3 times 3 is going to be learned out from 1 Yovel and 2 Rosh Hashanahs. And the question is, if they're all deraisa, some hold that only 6 out of the 9 are deraisa. Some hold even only 3 of the 9 are deraisa. Everyone, the other lachas we learned out, they're supposed to have their havara that is supposed to be blown the normal way. And also, it doesn't mean just to carry it in your hand. Everybody agrees to all these halachas. Some doesn't seem to be any machlokes. The Gemara starts, top line. This is what Moshe Zara is saying about how do you get 30. So far we just saw Tkiya, True Tkiya, 3 times. The right said Rabbanan, or whatever it is. The most we have so far was 9 sounds you have to hear. Asking Rabbi, what is that? Tkiya, True Tkiya? We had a question before how long each one is, but Tkiya, True Tkiya. Asking Rabbi Avo, the Kesari, Tkiya, and then Shalosh Shvarim, True Tkiya. Rabbi Avo made an enactment. He made a takan in Kesari. That's why he was the Rav in Caesarea. That you should blow Tkiya, Shvarim, True Tkiya. Means instead of just doing Tkiya, of course, the Torah doesn't say Shvarim. It's going to be a pshat in what a Trua is. But he said, before we had a machlokes, if Trua is what we call a Trua or it's what we call a Shvarim. And he did both. He did a Shvarim and a Trua. And the Gemara says, why did he do both of them? Manavshach, Ielu le'yalu, levet tkiya, Trua tkiya. Ignu cheganach, levet tkiya, and then Shlosha Shvarim tkiya. It was machlokes before. The Mishnah said that it's kishir tkiya. Abai said before that the question was about Yibaba. What does the word Yibaba mean? Does it mean what we call a Shvarim or what we call a Trua? So it's a machlokes. So good, either do like this, do like that, whatever you hold. If you hold that as a Shvarim, do a Shvarim. You hold that as a Trua, do a Trua. Why do both? The Gemara answers he had a suffix. He didn't know. I don't know what Shita is right. Some say a Shvarim, some say a Trua. So he did both. He didn't know if it's supposed to be a Shvarim. The word Genuche means like moaning, and the word Yelule is going to be like wailing. What we call again a Shvarim of 3 longer sounds, or Trua, which we're going to call 9 Mashihu sounds, Chumitin. So he didn't know, so he did both. Really, it's either or. It's not both. It's either a Shvarim or a Trua, but he didn't know, so he did both. So the Mars Akasha, Masik Flora Vavira, the Dilmi Yululi Abbey, the Kamapsik, Shlosha Shwar, Ben Kia Litrua, the Ben Kia Trua Litkia. The Mars Akasha that it doesn't solve the problem. If it's only one of the two, so if it's really supposed to be a Trua, let's say, but the Shvarim is a middle, so that's Mapsik, that's interrupting. You didn't have, Rashi says, you didn't have a Tkiya Lefanah. You're supposed to have a Tkiya, Trua, Tkiya. If the real Trua is going to be what we call a Trua, the Yalule, the yellow, so then you did a Tkiya, but then you made it have you did a Shvastam, a sound of a Shvarim, and then you did a Trua and a Tkiya. So that's not good. On the tzad, that it's supposed to be a Tkiya, Trua, Tkiya, the Shvarim messed it up. My answer is, you're right, the other of it, Tkiya, Trua, Tkiya. You're right. Besides doing Tkiya, Shvarim, Trua, Tkiya, you have to do also Tkiya, Trua, Tkiya, because the Shvarim would have messed it up. And then adding the opposite kasha, maybe the shvarim is the right one and the trua is messing it up. Maskef la'avavina, the dilma genuchi have maybe supposed to be a shvarim, the kamapsika trua ben shvarim l'tkiya, and the trua is messing it up. You're supposed to have tkiya shvarim tkiya, and you're doing a shvarim in between. So the more answers, you're right. You have to do that also. The other of it tkiya shvarim tkiya. You have to do a shvarim also. So now it comes out, yeah, you did. You have to do each one by itself because of the two shittas. And then the Gemara asks now, so if you did each one by itself, so why do both of them together for? You should just do Tkiya Shvarim Tkiya, and you should do Tkiya Trua Tkiya. Now you got all this stuff. What's the problem? That's the most conscious now. My Atkin, if he had to do all of these sets, so he did already Tkiya Shvarim Tkiya, he did already Tkiya Trua Tkiya. So why should he do also Tkiya Shvarim Trua Tkiya? What's that all about? The Gemara says that's also on a third side. Maybe it has both. Means there's no such shita really. Before we had a Mishnah, the Brisa, one says it's a tkiya, one says it's a shvarim, one says that it's a trua, but he had his own suffix. Maybe it's both of them together. So he did that also. So he had to do all three. Of course, whenever you do, you have to do it 3 times. Because if it's a tkiya, trua, tkiya, you have to do it 3 times. If it's a tkiya, shvarim, tkiya, you have to do it 3 times. If it's a tkiya, shvarim, trua, tkiya, you have to do it 3 times. That's how you get 30. We call it 30. Really, it should be 27. But because the shvarim trua, according to this, is really 1. But we call it, just because we got used to it, that a shvarim trua, so we call it 30. Some call it 27. That's how
Excuse me, Rebbe.
Yes, please.
You were saying, before we got to this very last part, you were saying it's either one or the other.
Right.
It's either shvarim or trua. So
Right.
So now why is he saying maybe it's both of them together? I thought everybody agreed that it's one or the other. So how could he think that it's both of them together?
Right. You seem to be right. And as far as the Tanam go, some hold this way, some hold that way. But Rabavo had his own suffix. It's true. It seems to be a kasha that you're asking, that where did he get such a third sheet that nobody holds of it? There's one Tana that says shvarim, one Tana says trua. So why did he have a tzad that is both of them together? So the Gemara doesn't explain it. It seems to be Rabavo's own invention of a possibility. Maybe there's more to it, but that's what it sounds like. He's not being cautious for all the shittas. He's being cautious for a third shitta that no one said. To do both of them.
When we're blowing like that, we probably don't hold like that, do we?
What do you mean? We do like Abavo. We took Abavo.
I thought maybe when we do, maybe it's this or maybe it's that. Oh, I see. But then it would be taking
Yes, we do that. He also was cautious for that. That's why he did Tkiya.
Oh, that's why he did each one. So we are going like him. We're doing all speculos.
Right. When the Gemara says he did Tkiya Shvarim Trua Tkiya, the Gemara explains. Of course, he had to do Tkiya Shvarim Tkiya alone. He had to do Tkiya Trua alone.
Yeah.
He also did Tkiya Shvarim Trua Tkiya.
Good.
The Gemara asks one more question. Ihachi, one line up. Maybe there's a fourth possibility. Maybe trua shvarim. He did tkiya shvarim trua. Tkiya. He did tkiya shvarim. Tkiya. He did tkiya. Maybe do tkiya trua shvarim tkiya. Maybe the opposite order is the right one. That the Gemara says that's not the normal way to blow of trying. Stam the milsa ki misra vinish milsa the reisha ganach the yolo. The stam is that when a person has a problem, when something happens bad to him, first he moans and then he wails. Whatever first, if anything, the way that happens is first he cries in a way of a shvarim, and then he cries in the way of trua. It doesn't go the opposite. So that's not normal. That surely is not a tzad. So we only have 3 possibilities: either a shvarim or a trua, or both of them together. That's what we do. We do tkiya shvarim trua, tkiya 3 times, tkiya shvarim tkiya 3 times, tkiya trua tkiya 3 times. And this is Rabbi Bo. Just to point out that there is a shita of Haigon that he says that nobody thinks that it's dafka this way, dafka that way. They're all good, but in order that it shouldn't be differences amongst Am Yisrael, so we did all the minhagim. There were some places that were doing this way, some places were doing that way. Rabbi Yochanan says like this also. For sure, they're all Yotzei. The question is only not to make machlokas in Am Yisrael. So we made it uniform that everybody does everything, but not that there's really a machlokas. Others Rishonim argue and say that one is the right one is the wrong one, and we have to be Yotzei all the shittas. Okay, if that's good, we go on to the next Gemara. Taka Barishona u'Moshav b'Shniya Kishlam. We had this many times already. Really, the truth is, the Gemara is not going to talk about this. So if you want to, you could erase the Dibur HaMaskal, so to speak, because we're not going to be referring to this part of the Mishnah. We had the Mishnah already that you can't make one long Tekiah, which is as long as two, and say that I did twice, and that we're not going to speak about. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Shama Teisha. Where is that?
I just want to know one thing.
Yeah, sure.
A hefsek. How do we know how long a hefsek is?
What does hefsek mean?
Well, you're saying that if you go...
Here, hefsek was talking about not just the time lapse, but that you did a wrong Tekiah. You did a wrong Tekiah in between. You did a wrong sound. You did Tekiah, and then you brought in another sound, the shvam, which doesn't belong here. That's hefsek. But just time lapse, that's going to be the Gemara now. That's next Gemara. And even though the Gemara is going to say right away, there's no problem of having a lapse in between, but to do a wrong Tekiah for a mitzvah, that's going to be a hefsek. So that's the problem. Any kind of hefsekim is going to be if there's the wrong sound in between. But as far as time, that's the Gemara now. And it starts at Amud Beis. Shama Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Shama Teisha Tekiyas B'Teisha Shos B'Yom. He heard a Tekiah at 7 o'clock in the morning. 8 o'clock, he heard Shvarm Trua. And then 9 o'clock, he heard another Tekiah. 10 o'clock, he learned a Tekiah. 11 o'clock at Shvarim. He's going 9. We have to do 30 because all this fake is. But take it simple. Tekiah, Trua, Tekiah, whatever that is. He's not going into the details. You could say other sounds, but you altogether you have to hear 3 times 3 under the Raisa without all the fakers, and the Raisa even holds that more or less. But let's talk about Tekiah 3 times, but he divided it with an hour in between. Is that a problem? This is another way of saying a time lapse in between and very long time lapse. So he says Yatza, it's good. There's no problem with the fact that it wasn't all together. Tani Nami Yachi, we learned such an Raisa. Shama Teisha Tekiyas B'Teisha Shas B'Yom Yatza. Mamish word for word that. You could hear 9 Tekiyas spaced out very much. So Rashi has a problem with this, that it says here if you heard simultaneously that 9 people blew at the same time. One, 6 of them, how does it go? 6 of them blew Tekiyas and 3 of them blew Truas. All the same time, you got all 9 kolos simultaneously. So it says Lo Yatza. Rashi doesn't understand why it's not Yatza. Why not? As Rashi even says, not have the Gersa, Rashi says that it is Yatza. But Tosfos and others, they do agree to the Gersa that it says here. And Tosfos says the reason why it's not good is because even though you got all the 9, but you don't have the Tekiah before, Tekiah after. It has to be Tekiah before, Tekiah after. If you have it all simultaneously, it's true that you got 6 Tekiyas and 3 Truas all simultaneously, but you don't have a Tekiah before, Tekiah after. If you have one after the other Tekiah, one person blows a Tekiah, another one a Trua, another one a Tekiah, that's fine. But if they're all going to do simultaneously, so you heard 6 Tekiyas and 3 Truas simultaneously, so you don't have a Tekiah before, Tekiah after. You have the right number, but you don't have it in the right order. So Rashi has a problem. Rashi says that you could hear it. The Gemara says before that for many people, if the Gemara says Chaviv, that it's beloved, you could hear. Over there it says that you could. That's what the Gemara said before, that you could hear it. But the Ritva, I'm just saying, you probably mean what the Ritva says. The Ritva says that even though Rashi over here, Rashi on top says Trei Koli Lo Mishtami. The Gemara says Trei Gabi, Trei Gabi Yes Mishtami. The Gemara says over there that has to be Chaviv. You could hear from 2 different people. So that's Rashi's kasha. Because of that, he changes the gears. He says it should be Yatza. But Tosfos says that has to be before and after. The Tekiyas have to be before and after the Trua. According to Tosfos, it will be, let's point out, according to Tosfos, it will be good that you heard 3 Tekiyas simultaneously, 3 Trua simultaneously, 3 Tekiyas. That would be good because you have before and after. But there's another chapter that says that even though the Gemara says before that you could hear 2 things at the same time, you could be selective and hear one of the 2, but you can't hear both of them. So that answers the kasha. Over there, the Gemara is talking about that there's something disturbing, so you could be chaviv and you could concentrate on one of them, but you can't have both of them at the same time. That also will be a pshat in our Gemara why you're not yotzei, and that's right. That's what the Gemara talks about over there, that they were able to hear at the same time and they heard both of them at the same time.
Excuse me, Rav Sitrin.
Yes, please.
I'm not understanding. Isn't it not? It's 9 people, and aren't every 9 of the one of the 9 doing the a tekiah? Through a tekiah.
No. Forget about the 30. 20, we're talking about 9 only. Altogether, you have 9. You have 9 musicians. 6 of them are going to do a tkiya, and 3 of them are going to do a trua. And they do it, if they do it one after in order, you have a lineup, 9 people.
I see. Okay, I got
And
it. I got
then
it.
that would be the musical
Okay.
arrangement. You do it, the tkiya, the trua, the tkiya, trua. But now they did all 9 simultaneously. So not Yotzei. Rashi doesn't know why. But Taisva says because you have to have the tkiya before the trua and the tkiya after the trua. The order has to be like that. And the Ritva says that you can't hear 2 things at the same time. You could hear one of the 2 things at the same time sometimes, but you can't hear both of them. So therefore, you're not Yotzei. But the Gemara continues in the 4th line. If they did it not simultaneously, one did a tkiya, one did a trua, that's fine. Even though it's 2 different people, that's okay. You don't have to have the same person blowing. And even if there's a lapse in between, as the Bryce said on the top, that even if you spaced out the whole day, that's okay. So what did the Gemara say? That you're allowed to space out the tkiyas and the truas as long as you heard it during the day of Rosh Hashanah, even though they were spaced out very much, an hour in between, you're still Yotzei. There was a kasha on that. Top line, say so. He wasn't talking about shofar, but a different halach, which the Gemara doesn't see a difference. If someone stopped in the middle of Hallel and he waited a long time, as long as he could have said the whole Hallel, so he has to start again to the beginning. And also by Megillah Sester, and he was reading it, and then he stopped as long as it would take to finish the whole thing. Let's say it takes 45 minutes to read the whole Megillah. So then he stopped for 45 minutes and he continued. So he has to start again. It's Hafsaka. And also the Gemara says it should apply to Shofar also. Of course, to do all the tkiyas doesn't take so long. And if he made Hafsaka in between, which would have been enough time to finish all 9 tkiyas, it should be considered a Hafsik, and he has to start from the beginning. Also, they should apply to other lachas also, Shemon Esrei, whatever it might be, that if he stopped in between, the Gemara is asking that Rabbi Yochanan said you have to start again. The Gemara says, Lo kasha. Hadidei Adi Rabbi, it's a machlok is him and his Rebbe. Because of there, he said that Rabbi Yochanan in the name of his Rebbe, like it says, Shimon ben Yotzadak, in the name of his Rebbe. He's the one who holds that it's not good. But Rabbi Yochanan himself argues on his Rebbe, and he holds that it's not a problem of hefsek. It's true, according to Shimon ben Yotzadak, by shofar, you wouldn't be able to make such a big break in between the tkiyas. But according to Rabbi Yochanan, he holds that you could, and also by Halal Megillah you could. There's no difference between Halal Megillah and shofar. Machlokes if there's a problem of making a hefsek or not. Hefsek in time, a lapse in time. But the Gemara Sakasha, even Rabbi Yochanan himself, we find that sometimes he also was makbid. With the day low, he himself holds no problem of making an interruption. Bavo have a chocolate basil Basrei Rabbi Yochanan. One time it happened, this is one brachas we had. Bavo was following Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Kori Kriya Shema, and Rabbi was saying Kriya Shema as he was walking. After he came to a filthy alleyway, there was a bad smell over there, garbage. So he stopped saying Kriya Shema. Also the Cholev, after they passed away from that alleyway, he wanted to continue to say Kriya Shema, and he asked Rabbi Yochanan, "Can I continue? Can I continue and finish Kriya Shema now?" Yeah, it means he had to stop in between. So Rabbi Yochanan told him, if your break, if your interruption was as long as it would have taken to say the whole Kriya Shema, you have to start again. So here Rabbi Yochanan himself is talking. He wasn't saying what his Rebbe holds. He was saying what he himself holds. And he says, Chol Rosh. So Rabbi Yochanan himself holds you have interruption is a problem. How come on top of the page he said that you could hear 9 tkiyas in 9 hours of the day? The Gemara answers, I have no problem. I would say you don't have to go back again. You don't have to start to the beginning. The Gemara somehow, the Pashup Shad, the Gemara is here somehow. I'm saying the Pashup Shad. Maybe others say that Rashi says different. I'm saying the Pashup Shad. That's to make it easy. That Rabbi Yochanan saw that Rabbi Avo holds that you have to go back. If you had Hafsak, you have to go back. So he holds like Rabbi Shimon ben Yotzadak. So he said, you want to know what the shir is? He just want to know how long it is. I'll tell you how long it is. If you waited the time it takes to say the whole Kriya Shema, you have to go back. If you didn't wait so long, you don't have to go back. But I hold there's no problem at all. I hold even if you would have waited as long as it takes to say the whole Kriya Shema, you still don't have to go back. But you are concerned with the issue, so I'll tell you the shir is Kedei Ligmar Skula. Rashi says it's a little different, and there's machlokas over here, machlokas Ramah, the Machaber, how he passing about this, but it's a little bit involved. So just to point out that 2 shittas are, some hold only by Shemon Esrei is it a problem. I don't say if it's into the Gemara. Some say only by Shemon Esrei is there a problem of making up Hafsaka, and some say it's only a problem when you had to stop. Means that you weren't allowed to continue. Let's say by the Tzoa over here, are you allowed to say Kriya Shema in the place where there's Tzoa, in the place where there's excrement? So if you hold that you're not allowed to, that would be Hefsek. But if it's just you happen to stop, but you could have said if you wanted to, you just stop. but nothing was stopping you halachically. So those are the two sheetahs brought down. Just mentioning it, and if anyone wants to look into it more, there's Machlokes Mechaber and the Ramah about this. Tana Rabbanan, Tekiyos ein rak b'zu azu, brachos ein rak b'zu azu. Some take out everything I said till now. Some take out these this line and a half. We'll come back in a second. Tekiyos brachos shel Rosh Hashanah v'shel Kippur ma'akvos. So I'll read the way Rashi said. Rashi does have it. He seems to say that let's learn the second half first. Tekiyos brachos shel Rosh Hashanah v'shel Kippur ma'akvos. That the Tekiyos of Rosh Hashanah are market. What does that mean? You have to have 9 kolos, whatever we said, 9, 20, 30, whatever you're going to do, that you have to have all of them. If you don't have all of them, you don't have anything. Let's talk about 9. That you didn't do it, you only know how to do Tekiyah. You don't know how to do a Trua. So you don't have anything. If they markers each other, that if you don't have all the Tekiyahs, you don't have anything. Of course, we could just speak out that if you know how to do Trua, not a Shvarim, so of course you should do it, because maybe that's what a Trua is. You only do all of them, you only do 30 because maybe it's a Shvarim, maybe it's a Trua, maybe it's both. But if you got a whole set of 9, surely you should do it. But if you don't know how to do 9, if you can't do 9, before we even had a sheet that says that 6 or 3, but let's say you only know how to do a Tekiyah, you don't know how to do a Trua. So you don't have anything. You have to have a Tekiyah, Trua, Tekiyah. Maybe you have to have 3 times that. Whatever you have to have, they're makvos. They are essential. If you're missing something, you have nothing. And also brachas also means that you have to have the 9 brachas of the Musaf of Shemona Esrei, of the Musaf of the Tefillah of Musaf of Rosh Hashanah, Malchus, Zephonus, and Shaphoros. And then Makir means if you don't have all of them, you don't have anything. If you don't know how to say all 3 of them, Malchus, Zephonus, and Shaphoros, don't say any. You can't say Tefillah of Rosh Hashanah, only Malchus and Zephonus without Shaphoros. And that the Gemara says, my timer, how come the brachos of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, of Yovel, are makvos each other? Amar Kadosh Baruch Hu, Imul Lefanei Rosh Hashanah Malchuyos, Zephonus v'Shaphoros, Malchuyos Kadesh Tamlichuni Aleichem, Zephonus Kadesh Ya'avu Lefnechem Zechanechem L'Tova. U'Lamer B'Shofar, we had the same as Gemara before, that's the purpose of saying the brachos of Malchuyos, Zephonus, and Shaphoros, that you should make Hashem to be king, and that Hashem should remember us for good, and through the shofar. That's why you say the brachas of Malchus, Zephonus, and Shaphoros. If you don't have all of them, then you don't have anything. You have to say all of them together. Just to go back to the beginning of this Tanur Rabbanan, it said Tekiyos are not mark of each other, and brachas are not mark of each other. Only a Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur are they mark of each other. So what is the first thing talking about? If it's not talking about Rosh Hashanah or Yovels, what is it talking about? So Rashi says tinios, that they would also blow shofar on the tinus. Over there it says that even though you should blow Tekiyah, through a Tekiyah, etc., but it's not makiv. If you only know how to do a Tekiyah, do that also, and also the brachas. It says in Maseches Tainus, which will be starting soon, that on Tainus used to expand the Shemona Esrei. It will be, instead of 18 brachas, it will be 24 brachas. If you don't know all the brachas, do whatever you know. That's what Rashi learns into these words, that on Tainios, the Tekiyos are not makiv, and whatever you know, and by the brachas are not makiv, if you don't know all of them, you can do whatever you know. But by Tekiyos of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, they are makiv. You have to have all 9. And the brachas of Rosh Hashanah, you have to have Malchus, Zephonus, and Shaphoros, or else don't do anything. The Gemara continues. Mi sheberach. Mi sheberach means like mi says Pala. It doesn't mean mi sheberach. It means whoever davened the Musaf of Rosh Hashanah and he didn't have a shofar. Then he got a shofar. He should do Tekiyah without the tefillah. Lechat tefillah. The Gemara is going to say right away. Lechat tefillah. You should say blow the shofar together with the Musaf of Rosh Hashanah. Like I said before, Hasheni Maskia, the Baal Musaf. But if you don't have a shofar and you daven without a shofar, so still blow afterwards. And the Gemara is medayik that tachatchila you should do it during the Shemona, during the tefillah. Time of the lo have a lay shofar may cover. The only reason why you do it afterwards is because you didn't have a shofar. Have a lay shofar may cover kishamalu asay the bracha shamalu. But if you did have a shofar, then you're supposed to hear the tekiyas together with the musaf. Not to do it separately. You're supposed to tachatchila have the tekiyas shofar during the musaf. But Papa Bashmuel comes to Sluyeh. Papa Bashmuel one time was davening by himself. He was davening b'yechidus on Rosh Hashanah. Amalei l'shami. He told the shamish, "Ki nehir to Kali. When I motion to you or snore to you a simon, then blow." Means he was davening at home by himself. Musaf of Rosh Hashanah, and he wanted that the shamish should blow shofar during his musaf, and he'll motion to him. He'll give him a simon when he finished Malchios. Then he should blow. When he finishes the chronos, when he finishes a forest, that the shaman should know when to blow. That's a big chiddush. That even when a person is b'yachid, he wanted to blow shofar during musaf. So Amalei Rava lo amu ela b'chaver. This halacha to blow shofar during musaf is only when you're in a tzibur, a minyan. But if you're by yourself, there's no such thing to blow during. Even if you're not a blow, there's no such thing to blow during the tefillah, only with tzibur. Tanya Namayachi, we learned such a brayso. Kishu Shoman al Seder al Seder brachas. When you hear the Tkiya, it's supposed to be on a certain Seder. That would mean whatever we said, Tkiya, Trua, Tkiya, and also 3 times. And also, what else did we say? That it's supposed to be maybe Tashrat, Tashat, Tarat, whatever the Seder is supposed to be. But also, it's supposed to be al Seder brachas in middle of the Musaf. It's only if you're in a minyan with a tzibur, but if you're not together with a minyan, you're davening b'yechidus. Shomon, let's get the Seder. Shomon, first word line. Shomon ala Seder, Yishalol al Seder brachas. Then you have to hear it the right order. Tkiya, Trua, Tkiya, whatever in order. But there's no thing to do it on the Seder of the Tefillah. And that's why we paskin that you don't. A person who's davening by himself b'yechidus, he doesn't blow shofar during his musaf. Second wide line, if someone doesn't blow, someone could blow for him. We know that very many times. You could hear it, you don't have to blow the tkiyas. It's enough to hear the tkiyas. Another thing, but the tefillah, someone cannot be motziu. Here it's not talking about a shliach tzibur. That's going to be, we'll talk about the Mishnah next time. The Mishnah says machlokes if a person has to daven his own musaf, or it can be also with the shliach tzibur. Here it seems to say that a yachad sholi cannot be motzi somebody else. One more halacha, mitzvah betoken yosem yamavarchim. It's a bigger mitzvah of tkiyah shofar than tefillah. The word mavarchim here means tefillah. If you have a choice of hearing shofar or musaf, what do? It says that tkiyah shofar is more. Ketzad, what will be the case? Shtei yoros, v'achas token, or v'achas mavarchim. There are 2 cities, possible cities you can go to, and one of them is going to be tkiyah shofar, the other one is going to be tefillah, musaf. Which one do you go to? Go to the place, rather go to the place where there's going to be tkiyah shofar than to go to the place where there's going to be tefillah musaf. The Gemara says, Pshita, this is the first time the Gemara mentions that the davening of Malchus of Fishaforos is Rabbanan. Before, a couple of pages ago, he had all kinds of drushes about it. Zichron Trua, there was a drush, there was Zichronos, Truas, Malchus was Ani Hashem Elokechem, there was drushes. And here, the Gemara goes without saying, just pulls it out, that it's only Rabbanan. Tkiyah shofar is the Raisa, and Malchus of Fishaforos of the Tefillah is Rabbanan. So the Gemara says that you need a Raisa to tell me that I should go to the Raisa, not to a Rabbanan. Surely, if it's a choice to go to Tkiyah shofar or to Musaf, I surely have to go to Tkiyah shofar. The Gemara says, L'tzricha, the af, agav, the high, vadai, v'hai safik. That the Chiddush is that even if the one city for sure is a Musaf over there, the other city, he thinks there might be a Tkiyah shofar, he's not sure. So better go to a Suffolk, he'll get Tkiyah shofar, might not get anything, but he might get a Tkiyah shofar. Better than to go to a Vadai Musaf. If he has a choice of Tkiyah shofar and Musaf, he surely goes to the Tkiyah shofar. Even if it's only a Suffolk, if he's going to get the Tkiyah shofar, better go there, even though he's going to lose out what he would get a Vadai Musaf. Because the suffix of getting the Deraisa is more important than getting the Vadai Drabanan. So we'll stop over here. The rest that goes into a new sugi now, which is going to go to the rest of the parak, and Beshem will finish on Motzei Shabbos. Just to chaz over the halachas that we learned today. The first, yes.
Ruben, are you there? Ruben Alevi?
He doesn't be able to unmute, but he's there. He can probably hear you.
So Ruben, just to let you know, there's a siyum this Motzei Shabbos. We're learning here 7:45, and then afterwards by 7:15, Mitchell will make the siyum, and we'd love to have you. Okay? I am David, so you make sure that you let him know. Okay?
Okay, so just to chaz over, the first part of the sugya was mostly drushes, even though the halachas everybody agrees, but the halachas that came out were that you have to have a shofar, even though it doesn't say Rosh Hashanah the word shofar. We did learn out either from Yovel or from Tikka B'chol the shofar that you have to have a shofar for Rosh Hashanah. Also, there's a tkiyah before and a tkiyah after. Either we learned it out from Yovel or we learned it out from Parshas Baloscha by the Chatzotros. Also, it's 3 times 3, which is a combination of what it says by Yovel and by Rosh Hashanah. By Rosh Hashanah it says 2 times. By Yovel it says 1 time. Agav, the Gemara says it's not so simple that you have to have all these with the rice, even though it comes out that according to the drush you have 3 times 3, tkiyah, 2 tkiyah 3 times, but it could be that only 2 of the sets are the rice, could be even only 1 set is the rice, and the other ones are for other drushes. The other halachas we learned out over here was also that the shofar has to be blown in the right direction from the small end to the wide end, and also that it doesn't just mean to carry the shofar, it means you have to blow it. That goes without saying. Also, the Gemara brought the issue about what a trua is. We had machlokes if a trua is going to be a shvarim, or what we call a trua, and the bavo was choshesh vol l'shitas, plus the third possibility that it's both of them together. Therefore, you have to do tkiyah, shvarim, trua, tkiyah, in case it's that. Also, you have to do tkiyah, shvarim, tkiyah, trua, tkiyah, because if you're only going to do Tkiya Shvam Trua Tkiya, maybe it's going to be a hefsek. That's where the Gemara says that you cannot be mafsik with another sound in between the correct sounds. You can't put an incorrect sound. As far as us making a hefsek without a sound, just waiting, that the Gemara brought a machlokas. The Brochman says that it's okay. That's how we paskin. And there is a sheet of Rav Shimon ben Yotzadok that holds that you're not allowed to make a hefsek. If you did, you have to start again. You have to do it without making hefsek in between. The poskim do talk about hefsek in general, all kinds of things that you have to say if you made hefsek by Kriya Shema, by Tefillah. The Gemara talks about Hallel, Megillah, Shofar. So some say it's only halachically, halacha, even though we don't see it in the Gemara. Halacha, some hold it's only a problem by Shemon Esrei. That's the Machaber. And the Ramah says it's a problem by anything if you waited long enough to finish that. I'm sorry, that of course the whole thing is only if you waited long enough to finish the whole thing. That's called hefsek. But some say only if it was halachically restrained from continuing. You were held back halachically that you weren't allowed to continue. That might be a hefsek. But if you just stopped because you wanted to, and you didn't have to, then it would not be considered a hefsek. The Gemara talks about if they're ma'akev each other, it means you have to do all 9 kiyas, whatever the halacha is going to be, 3, 6, 9, whatever it is. You have to do all of them. If you only knew a kiyah without a trua, then you didn't do anything. Also by the brachas of Musaf, you have to have the whole thing. Malchus, Chodesh, and Shafar. If you don't have everything, then you have nothing. Mashenka by Tanios, it is good enough, whatever kiyah you know, and whatever brachas you know of the additions of the Shemon Esrei, even though it's not going to be 24, add on whatever you know, as we'll see in Maseches Tainis. After that, the Gemara says that the Chatchila, you should have Tkiya Shofar during Musaf, if you could. If not, the Mishnah says that do it afterwards. But the Gemara says this whole lach is only b'tzibur, b'yachad, no such din. Even if a person knows how to blow, or he has somebody to blow for him, no such din. When a person does b'yachidus, he doesn't blow during the tefillah. After that, it says that if you have a choice of going to a city which has Tkiya Shofar, or to a place which has Musaf, go to the Tkiya Shofar, and that goes without saying because it's the right side of Rabbanan. But even if it's only a suffix, you'll get the Tkiya Shofar. Better a suffix Shofar than a Vadai Musaf. That's it for today. Yashar, everybody. Thank you. Have a good Shabbos. And Be'ez Hashem will finish on Motzei Shabbos at 6:45, and then the Siyam, Be'ez Hashem. And Yom Yishon will be starting Maseches Tainis, Be'ez Hashem. Thank you.
Toda Rabah. Thank you very much. A good Shabbos.
Good Shabbos. Thank you.
Labor.